we're going to work on this next packet, and you should be able to do 1 through 5 on your own. So if you could get started on that, pause the video, and then when you're done with number 5, come back to the video and I'll give you more instructions. Okay, so you should have gotten that it was a binary. Filled out all of these. If you have any make or miss, independent, each shot theoretically doesn't affect the next one. We had a set number of trials, which was 5, and the same probability for their penalty kicks was 0.6. So here's the formulas that we've moved past, but make sure you understand the concept of the formula. The 5 to choose 3 means how many different ways I can get exactly 3 shots. In other words, I could get 3 in a row and then miss the next 2. I could get miss the first 2 and then get the last 3, or miss the first and the last, get the middle and the 3. So those are all the different ways. And then I want 3 successes, so I take 0.6 raised to the 3. I want 2 failures, so 0.4 to the 2. And if I'm trying to calculate the probability that x is greater than or equal to 3, I'm just going to add those 3 probabilities up. Okay. Now, instead of using the binomial applet, we're going to figure out how we can get at least 3 successes using the calculator. Okay. So what I would like you to do is open your calculator, and we're going to be looking at second distribution, binomial PDF. We're familiar with that. Now we're going to look at binomial CDF. And what binomial CDF is it's the cumulative distribution function. So it takes all of the probabilities up to a certain point and adds them up. So in this case, my probability of success is 0.6. And let's say that I just want the zeroth, what's the probability of getting 0? So, let me get in the right spot here. So second distribution, binomial CDF. And so that's only going to give me the probability of getting 0. Okay. Now, if I pull up second enter, that'll pull up the last equation I did. Now, if I do 1, okay, the probability of getting 1 success, that's 0 plus 1, cumulative distribution. It adds it up. So you'll see that these keep getting bigger and bigger. So if I do binomial CDF of 2, that's going to take 0 plus 1 plus 2. Notice we're getting bigger. Second entry, I'm going to go all the way through on this. 3, and then we'll see 4. So this is getting 3 or fewer. This is finding the probability of 4 or fewer. This is trying to find the probability of 5 or fewer. And then, so that just means that the probability of getting 6 is going to be so small. Okay, there is a probability, but it's just going to be so small. Okay, so that's binomial CDF. That's a new one that we're learning. So this was asking what's the probability for number 6 to find the probability that they win. Okay, finding the probability that they win is getting at least 3 successes. Okay, so at least 3 successes. So that means 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Now, the calculator only calculates from 0 up to a number. So if you want at least 3, you need to think about the opposite or the complement. So what's the opposite of at least 3? Let's see, at least 3 is 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So the opposite of that would be 0 or 1 or 2. Okay, so if I go back to my calculator, 0 or 1 or 2, that's the probability of 0.31744. So if I want to know the probability of at least 3, it's just going to be 1 minus 0.31744. So if we take a look at this, at least 1 minus 0.37144 is 0.6826. That's how you're going to get that. Okay? And then can you just pause the video and do 7 and 8, and do that by doing the L1 and L2 that we did in class the other day and doing the binomial chart for that to find the mean and the standard deviation. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you finished that, okay? And you calculated the mean is 3 and the standard deviation is 1.095. Okay, so what does the mean and the standard deviation mean? If there were many, many overtimes, we would expect to get on average 3 goals, and typically it would vary by about 1 goal from the 3. Okay, now with a binomial, you actually don't need to do that whole thing that we did in the chart each time. Okay, what you can actually do is, in order to calculate the mean, you can just do n times p. So in this case, my n was 5, my probability of success was 0.6, 5 times 0.6 is just 3, and then similarly, standard deviation is going to be the square root of n times p times 1 minus p. Okay, so that's this. We looked at teacher notes already. Okay, so just so you know, if you want to add here, these teacher notes, probability that x equals 3, probability that x equals 4, x equals 5, and then x is greater than or equal to 3. For this one, this is going to be 1 minus the probability that x is greater than or equal to 3. All right, so let's just take a few minutes to get some teacher notes here for analyzing the binomial random variables. Learning target number 1 is exactly the same as what we've done before. It's the formula, and we add up all the probabilities for all the x values we needed, and that's where you're going to use the binomial CDF. CDF means cumulative. So using the, we're not going to be using the applet. You can use it for your homework if you'd like, but I think getting to know how to use it on your calculator, since the calculator is going to be what you're going to be using on your quizzes, is probably a little bit better idea. So if you're doing at least in your notes, please get at least is going to be 1 minus the probability of your binomial CDF up to that value. So if you're at least 3, it's going to be 1 minus the probability binomial CDF of 2. Exactly, that is a binomial PDF. Okay, and then at most, that's just a binomial CDF, and that's from 0 up to the number that you're interested in. So that's just a straightforward binomial CDF. The middle one is a straightforward binomial PDF, and the first one is 1 minus a binomial CDF. And then the last learning target is how to calculate the mean and the standard deviation, and it's just n times p and the square root of n times p times 1 minus p. That should look familiar. That should look familiar. All right, friends, why don't you pause the video and give a go to the check your understanding, and then come back and we'll go over those. Welcome back. Hope you had fun with it. Check your understanding. So we are going to go through here why x is a binomial random variable. So we take a look at bins, just as we always have. So if you go through your successes and your failures, and remember it's always drawing 3 or not drawing a 3. So then the random variable x has a binomial distribution, and we figure out what the n is and what the probability of success is. Okay? Then it says find the probability that 10 or fewer. So that's just going to be binomial CDF, and substituting your values in with your x is 10, your n is 250, your probability of success, you don't even have to put that in, and you should get 0.0133, and then you explain. Similarly, based on the actual result of 10 people who win a free lunch and your answer to question 2, should the customer be surprised? And yeah, because it's really unlikely for that to happen, for 10 or few customers to win a free lunch by chance alone. So the customer should be surprised. There might be a problem. Okay. Then it says calculate and interpret the mean. That's just mean is 250 times 4 over 52. And then the standard deviation, it's just the square root of n times p times 1 minus p. And then we've talked about how to interpret that. All right, my friends. Homework will be posted. So thanks for being understanding about me not being there today. And I hope you have a happy day.